I was gonna rip his heart out, I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror, no, I'm Alexander, he's no Alexander. I'm the best ever, there's never been anybody ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw, there's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Because what's the point in signing up for VADA drug testing if when you fail, everyone just says, oh, actually, don't worry about it. Yeah. You know, and the excuse that UKAD said it was okay is irrelevant. It wasn't UKAD testing, it was VADA testing. And, you know, for UKAD to say that in competition is only on the day of the fight is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So you're telling me that you can take oxylofrene and ephedrine for your entire camp, making you cut weight, making you faster, making you stronger, making you more dangerous in the ring, and then just come off it 2 days before the fight. It's ridiculous. You can't just turn a blind eye when someone fails a drugs test, because the sport becomes a mockery, 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 because the sport becomes a mockery.
Welcome back to another episode of Bout the Ropes here on Keep It Real Boxing. I am your host, Cypherbox, and yes, I know it's been a while since I've done one of these. Been a little bit busy, but I had to get back on it for this one, no doubt about it. Okay, so look, what we're going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about Dillian Whyte and his failed drug test, which was reported by world-renowned journalist, sports journalist Thomas Hauser. But before I get started, let me just say that I go in after everyone when it comes to PEDs, failed drug tests, etc. Right? Canelo Alvarez, he got it. Miller, he got it. Billy Joe Saunders, he got it. Luis Ortiz, he got it. Povetkin, spoken about him on many occasions, he got it too. And even before I started my YouTube channel on Instagram, I went in on Tyson Fury and his failed drug test from the past as well. So no one is above the law here on Keep It Real Boxing. Let me just make that very clear to you, right? And the same will apply to Dillian Whyte. So Thomas Hauser was the man who broke the story, the journalist who broke the story regarding Dillian Whyte's failed drug tests. And these are the facts according to his report, okay? 1, Dillian Whyte failed a drug test on the 17th of July, which was 3 days before his fight with Oscar Rivas. Hauser received a call from a trusted source that Whyte had tested positive for a PED. Whyte failed an A sample test taken by UKAD, not VADA. He tested positive for 2 substances, which you can see on the screen right now. I'm not going to try and pronounce them. These are 2 metabolites of a banned drug called dianabol. A metabolite is a byproduct of the body breaking down or metabolizing a drug into a different substance. When a drug is leaving the user's system, it leaves these intermediate end products. Basically what that means is Dillian Whyte took dianabol, or he took a supplement that contained dianabol, a banned substance, and that dianabol went in his body and it broke down into 2 different banned substances, which when he urinated or they took blood or whichever whichever type of test he failed, it came out as 2 different banned substances, which I showed you earlier on the screen. That's basically what happened. So yes, where people are saying that no, he didn't fail for 2 banned substances, it's yes and no. He took 1 substance which through his body broke down into 2 banned substances. So in a sense, yes, he did fail for 2 banned substances. Dianabol is an anabolic steroid taken orally. It was developed in 1955 to treat a medical condition. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. No longer legally available in most countries, including the US. Can still be purchased here in the UK and used as a PED by bodybuilders. Very small trace samples were found in the A sample of Dillian Whyte's failed drug test. Could have been ingested as part of a supplement rather than direct ingestion of dianabol. Now, before I state this next bit, I kind of want you guys to understand something clearly. UKAD, which is the UK anti-doping agency, follows the WADA code, right? So WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, they follow their code when it comes to our drug tasting here in the UK for PEDs. Just to want to make that clear before I state this next point. Now, why do I want to make that clear? Because I know a lot of people are going to question me. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that, Syph? Yeah, Cypher, how do you know that? Well, listen, when Billy Joe Saunders failed for his drug test, remember, he failed a VADA test, right? VADA, V-A-D-A, right? He failed for their test. In the UK, under UKAD, he didn't fail test because it was deemed that the substance he was taking was outside of competition. Whatever you want, I'm not going to even go into all of that, yeah? But they said that they follow, UKAD themselves stated that they follow the WADA, that's the World Anti-Doping Agency's code for PED abuse. WADA standards for these substances is qualitative, not quantitative. In other words, any amount found in an athlete's system is considered a violation of the WADA code. So what that means is, regardless of the amount that's found in your body, whether there are trace elements or whether it's, a large amount that you've tested positive for, the simple fact is that it is not allowed. Okay? You don't get a pass. It's a violation of the WADA code that you cannot take this substance no matter what. Small amounts, large amounts, trace elements, doesn't matter. If it's found in your body, you're in trouble. The British Boxing Board of Control was made aware of Whyte's failed drug test by UKAD. However, after a hearing which took place hours before the day of the fight, so basically on the day of the fight, I believe Dillian Whyte in the morning or whatever it was had a hearing with the British Boxing Board of Control. Okay, both fighters were cleared to fight by the British Boxing Board of Control. Rivas's camp was not made aware of Whyte's failed drug test at any point by the British Boxing Board of Control, nor was the WBC. Whyte is waiting for the B sample test and not making any detailed announcements due to legal reasons according to his team. So I'm guessing he's going to try and sue Thomas Hauser and reporters for defamation of character, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in the podcast. Now, so Dillian Whyte tested positive on July 17th. Matchroom, the British Boxing Board of Control, UKAD, Whyte's camp, they were all aware of the failed drug test. Now, Eddie Hearn did an interview with, Fred of Barbershop Conversations. Really good interview, really went after Eddie Hearn, applied some real pressure on Eddie Hearn. A lot of people are making it out like Eddie Hearn won that. He didn't. He looked ridiculous in that. Yeah, when you start insulting someone on a personal level and calling them a clown, etc., and stuff like that, is because you're not having your way in that situation. You're not having your way. You can't answer the questions. You're under pressure, so you start acting erratically and irrationally, and that's exactly what Eddie Hearn did in that situation. He was under pressure, couldn't handle the pressure, so responded the way he did. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, they were all aware of the failed drug test, and in that interview he stated that he was aware about 36 hours before the fight. 36 hours, 40 hours before the fight. Okay, so it wasn't like it was something that he found out on the day or hours before the fight. Okay, I just want to make that really clear. Under the rules here in the UK, Whyte has the right of appeal. Fair enough. UKAD states that there is no finding until the adjudication process is over and due process is complete. Therefore, no sanction can be put in place by the British Boxing Board of Control, and this can take up to a year for this process to be completed. For example, Tyson Fury, right? When Tyson Fury tested positive back in January 2015, right? And I think that was that test was taken when he fought Christian Hammer. Okay, he then was allowed to go on and fight Vladimir Klitschko. But he was still under investigation by UKAD and the British Boxing Board of Control for a failed drug test. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember what the drug was called. I remember putting it on Instagram back then because I talked a lot about it on Instagram. Okay, and obviously after the fight with Klitschko, reports had come out that he failed that drug test. You know, and then it all went downhill for Tyson Fury after that point. Okay, and I remember Klitschko's team were pissed because they were like, how the hell did you let him fight me? Yeah, when you knew he failed a drug test, when he tested positive for something, yeah, a banned substance. So I don't agree with this process from the UK. Here in the UK, I personally feel like, okay, yes, you can take your time investigating this person, but then you have to suspend that individual temporarily pending investigation. You don't allow him to fight. If I could, for example, with my company that I work for, yeah, because obviously I'm not a YouTuber, you know, by trade, all right? With the company I work for, if I commit some sort of form of misconduct, right, and it's a really bad situation, let's say I punch someone's accused me of punching them in the face, all right? They would suspend me with pay pending investigation. And until they completed their investigation, they would not call me back in for a hearing. The same applies here, in my opinion. I don't agree with what UKAD are doing, right? Or the British Boxing Board Control are doing. They need to change that policy. If you failed a drug test, yeah, I get it. They don't want to say that you're guilty, but at the same time, there is reasonable doubt that you could be guilty. So therefore, what you need to do in that situation is you say, right, Dillian, you tested positive here for this drug. We want to do further investigations into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to suspend you temporarily for now, pending an investigation. Don't worry, we won't reveal the stories, etc. and stuff like that. We will keep it all in-house, confidential, but we can't allow you to fight. We're going to have to suspend your license temporarily. Okay, and the promoter can come up with some nonsense and say, hey, Dillian's injured himself, or the doctor hasn't allowed Dillian to fight because Dillian's not well, etc., etc. You can come up with some BS to cover it all up. But the British Boxing Board Control should have suspended him pending investigation, not allowed him to fight, in my opinion. The National Anti-Doping Panel, that's NADP, an independent entity, is responsible for the final adjudication of PED disputes. Not only that, Whyte served a 2-year ban after testing positive for a PED. Yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce the PED. Back in October 2012. You probably heard this story a lot from Dillian Whyte. He tested positive for using a over-the-counter supplement called Jack 3D, I believe it is, which contained this substance, this banned substance. All right. So, what are the concerns here, right? Okay, well, the first one is obvious, right? Matchroom, Sky, the British Boxing Board Control, Whyte's team are not confirming or denying whether Dillian Whyte failed a drug test. All right. We're getting all these answers, but we're not getting the truth, right? The simple fact of the matter is, this is the way I look at it, okay, was Dillian Whyte called to a hearing by the British Boxing Board of Control? Yes, he was. We know that because Eddie Hearn has confirmed that in all his interviews. Now, why would he be called for a hearing hours before the fight? Because he failed a drug test. There would be no other reason for him to be called to a hearing. He wasn't engaged in any sort of form of misconduct, or in terms of like Derek Chisora throwing a table, or saying something that was politically incorrect, nothing like that. All right, so he was brought forward for a failed drug test, where they quickly wanted some answers out of him. All right, but he was called forward for that reason. All right, why else would he be called forward for a hearing? Because he failed a drug test. So the answer to that question is clearly yes. So why wasn't the WBC informed of the failed drug test? Okay, here you have a fighter, yeah, a British fighter who is ranked highly within the WBC. The WBC are sanctioning that fight. They are sanctioning that fight as a final eliminator to become Deontay Wilder's mandatory challenger and to become the interim heavyweight champion of the WBC. They have a right to know what's going on. Okay? Like I said, Dillian Whyte, did he fail a drug test? Yes, he did. Okay? That bit we know. Whether it was through a supplement because he was taking something and he wasn't aware, or whether he actually took Dianabol directly, doesn't matter. The fact is, the sanctioning body for that fight, obviously the licensing, the British Boxing Board of Control were the organisations who were licensing the fight in the UK, and the WBC was sanctioning the fight as a final eliminator. So they had every right to know, in my opinion. You could have simply told the WBC, hey, just want to let you know that Dillian Whyte has tested positive for a banned substance. We are conducting a hearing this morning to find out what the reasons behind that was. Depending on the outcome of that hearing, we'll let you know whether the fight's going to go on or not go on. Okay, but we do need to let you know, for now, could you keep it confidential, because we haven't completed our investigation as of yet. He still wants his B sample to be tested. Mauricio Sulaiman will be like, okay, understood, etc., but need to make Dillian aware that if he is found guilty of consuming a banned substance, all right, for the use of basically cheating, that we will pull him out of our rankings, etc., 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 and all that sort of stuff, yeah? And we won't allow him to be the interim champion, and we will end up reversing the decision if he beats Oscar Rivas on the night. Or whatever do you see what I'm trying to say? There are ways around this through communication. But the British Boxing Board of Control, by being silent, they've made it look like there's something to hide. And that makes Dillian Whyte look guilty. And to be fair, I believe he is guilty no matter what. Yeah, and I'll explain to you at the end of the podcast when I give you my full, final thoughts as to why I believe Dillian Whyte is guilty. Now, moving on to a very important point here. Why wasn't Rivas' team informed about the failed drug test from Dillian Whyte by the British Boxing Board of Control or the promoter? Simply put, because Eddie Hearn was trying to cover it up. Why? Because he was trying to protect his profits and at the same time trying to protect his fighter. Yeah? He didn't want his fighter's reputation dented or stained like it was back in 2012 when he failed a drug test. Not only that, he was protecting his money too as a promoter, because all the money they invested into it, they would have had to give money back to the fans if he called off the fight. Yeah, 50% off tickets, etc., or something like that. Or the next show, people don't turn up, etc. It hurts the profitability of matchroom boxing. All right. Now, I understand that from a contractual point, he was obligated to allow the fight to continue. Okay, fine. He says to Dillian, no problem. You got a contract with me. The other fighter's got a contract with me. I can't really say no and call this fight off because you've been cleared to fight. However, yeah, I am going to let Oscar Rivas know that his team know that you failed a drug test. And a lot of people are going to say, why would he do that? Simple. All right. It's because he has a moral and ethical responsibility to inform Rivas and his team of the failed drug test. And so did the British Boxing Board of Control. Yeah. Imagine Dillian Whyte went into that ring knowing he had some sort of form of banned substance in his body. And let's say he killed Oscar Rivas in the ring. And don't forget, in the last couple of weeks, we've had 2 deaths in the sport. 2 fighters have lost their lives. But like I said, let's say he killed Oscar Rivas in the ring. How would you sleep at night knowing, as a promoter, you could have prevented that from happening? Knowing in the back of your head that my fighter did test positive for banned substances. Regardless of the fact that he was cleared or not to fight on the night, he still had substances in his body he should not have had. Whether he took it by mistake or whether he took it because he was trying to cheat doesn't matter. If he was taking it by mistake, fine. You don't just say, hey, go ahead, go fight. Because he still has these substances in his body. Yeah, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Whether he was trying to cheat or whether it was by accident, it doesn't matter. He still had it in his body. Right? Which means he was more dangerous than he should have been, than he usually would have been as a fighter. And that would have given him, whether it increased his power, his speed, etc., whatever. Yeah? He could have caused serious damage to Oscar Rivas. So that means Oscar Rivas was still in danger, more than normal. Right? We know boxing is a dangerous sport. It's not like cricket. It's not football. Yeah? You're going in there to hurt your opponent, to physically punch him in the face, punch him in the body, cause physical harm to him. And if you've got a banned substance in your body, you are even more dangerous than you would normally be, because you could cause serious health issues, serious health risks to that opponent, or even worse, kill them. So therefore, you shouldn't have been allowed to fight. This is where I don't get with everyone. Everyone's saying, oh, but he was cleared by the British Boxing Board of Control. Yes, but he still tested positive because he had a substance in his body that he shouldn't have had. It was a banned substance. And they should have told Oscar Rivas' team, because Oscar Rivas is a human being. He is a life. Yeah? He should have been given the option and the choice as to whether he wanted to continue with the fight or not, and he wasn't. And no matter which way you paint the picture, that was wrong. You should have given him the chance. Yeah, you were morally and ethically responsible to tell Oscar Rivas that Dillian Whyte had failed a drug test, and that right now in his system he has a banned substance. They are allowing him to fight because he took it by mistake through a supplement. If that is the story, I don't know if that is, but if that's the case, that's what they're pushing, I think. And if that is the case, it doesn't matter. It was still in his body, and he should have been given that option. He would have said, "Alright, I don't care. I'll still fight him." But they didn't want to reveal that. They didn't want to give him that option, especially Eddie Hearn, because you know full well Oscar Rivas' team would have gone public with it, but they're going to say that we're still going to fight him. Don't worry about it. Or no, we're pulling out the fight because I'm not fighting that guy while he's on something. Yeah, that's a risk to me as a fighter. And he had every right to know. I don't care what any of you Matchroom fanboys out there say, because I know a lot of you, I've seen you on Twitter, etc. It's ridiculous. Right? Shows that you're not real boxing fans, and you don't really care about cleaning up the sport, and you don't care about the lives of fighters who are, you know, do you know what I mean? Who are already putting their health and their lives at risk when they enter the ring anyway, but even more so when they're going up with someone who's pumped with PEDs, whether they're trace amounts or not. You heard the WADA code of ethics on it. A trace amount of these substances that were found in Dillian Whyte are a clear violations, whether it's trace amounts or whether it's large amounts. It doesn't matter, it's not allowed. There's a reason for that. And Oscar Rivas should have been told. Now, why all the silence from the British Boxing Board of Control since this news has come out, yeah? Because I think they know they're in some sort of trouble here. I feel a little bit, yes, I know they have this rule about confidentiality and all that sort of stuff, so that they don't want to put themselves in a situation where they have a legality issue with Dillian Whyte. But at the same time, I feel they're probably kind of working out how do they get out of the situation with Oscar Rivas, because I'm pretty sure Oscar Rivas would have legal rights here as well, that he was not informed and that his life was put in danger by entering the ring with an opponent in Dillian Whyte who tested positive for banned substances, for a banned PED. Okay, and I kind of think that they're probably looking for a way to kind of get themselves out of this situation. I also believe that I actually can guarantee you, yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked me at all, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Dillian Whyte's B sample comes back negative, that he passes that one. It would not shock me at all, yeah, because that kind of would probably in a sense help the British Boxing Board of Control out of this situation. Yeah, the British Boxing Board of Control have had these problems in the past as well. I remember when I was a kid with the whole Eubank versus Michael Watson, the second fight. We know what happened to Michael Watson. Brain damage, severe brain damage actually, which still affects him today. And funny enough, Barry Hearn, that's Eddie Hearn's father, was the promoter who was promoting that fight between Eubank and Watson. Interesting that. But from what I understand from when I was a kid, and my history might be a little bit hazy here, Barry Hearn, when that all happened, Barry Hearn apparently ran for the hills. And it was the British Boxing Board Control that it all fell upon, that they didn't give due care to Michael Watson. They only had one ambulance in place. They didn't have a designated hospital and all that sort of stuff, if I remember right. Like I said, my history is a little bit hazy on this one. And, you know, he ended up suing the British Boxing Board of Control, rightfully so, because they didn't look after him. They didn't have measures in place to protect him and to protect his health and to get him to the hospital on time and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I think they only had one doctor ringside, and, you know, now I think there's like 2 or 3 doctors ringside. So they've changed a lot of things since then. But I think he sued them for something like just over £1 million for that whole situation, Michael Watson. He sued him for about $1 million. And that was going to be financially, that would have brought the British Boxing Board of Control to their end, if I understand right. And I believe Frank Warren came in the end and bailed the British Boxing Board of Control out of it. But Barry Hearn, he ran for the hills. No one heard from him. He pegged it. So it's not the first time that the British Boxing Board of Control have put themselves in this sort of situation. That was probably the worst you'd ever seen the British Boxing Control when it came to this sort of situation where a fighter wasn't looked after in the ring, etc. Obviously, that wasn't nothing to do with failed drug tests or anything between Eubank and Watson. I'm just saying that they've had problems in the past, you know. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Dillian Whyte's B sample came back. Went off track there a little bit. Sorry about that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if the B sample comes back negative, that he passes that B sample, and that way they could use that as a way to vindicate themselves out of this situation. I'm just putting that out there. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Now let's move on to Spencer Fearon, pundit for Sky Sports, boxing pundit, and obviously a representative of MTK Global and a very close friend of Dillian Whyte. Spencer Fearon recently came out in an IFL interview claiming that Oscar Rivas also tested positive for a known PED. Now, I don't know whether he meant in the run-up to the fight against Dillian Whyte or whether he meant afterwards. Okay, but let's look at it at this point. Okay, if that is true, that both fighters tested positive, including Oscar Rivas tested positive for the fight, so what? That just means that both fighters should not have been allowed to fight, right? Because they're both in danger now. Now, he wasn't very clear whether that's what makes me question this point or this situation or this allegation made by Spencer Fearon, where Oscar Rivas tested positive apparently for the fight, or, you know, at some point, because he's not very clear on whether it was, he didn't really state whether it was in the run-up to the fight or whether the results came out after, or whether he tested positive after the fight. Okay, when he's making this allegation. And to be fair, it was poor journalism on the part of IFL TV, because they didn't probe into it. They just accepted his answer, all right, or accepted his point he was trying to make, all right. But regardless of the fact, that means that both fighters are guilty and both fighters are need to be banned or dealt with or punished for it, right? It doesn't vindicate Dillian Whyte. Oh, Oscar Rivas tested positive as well. Oh, okay, we'll let Dillian Whyte off, and we'll forget that Dillian Whyte tested positive for a drug, for a banned substance. It doesn't work like that. It's still, Dillian Whyte still looks bad no matter what. So I don't understand what he was trying to do there, but he sounded very nervous in the way he was saying it, like he was talking like that. So that doesn't fill me with confidence that he's 100%, sure about this information he was provided from what he says was a very credible source. And don't get me wrong, it could be true. Maybe Oscar Rivas did fail a drug test, but that just puts him in the same boat as Dillian Whyte. It puts him in the same boat as Dillian Whyte. It doesn't vindicate Dillian Whyte in any shape, way or form. He was still guilty of having a banned substance in his body, for testing positive for a banned substance. Period.
You also told me something on the phone when we were talking earlier about Oscar Rivas. Do you want to break that news?
Well, you know what? Allegedly, I heard from a good source. But it's allegedly, so I don't want no one trying to sue me. But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test. This is the talk that I'm hearing. So if it has, and that comes out, then I'm saying, right, I'm saying don't point the finger. Too many people are pointing the finger at Dillian Whyte. I'm saying, listen, you saw how elated I was. Dillian Whyte come from the ends. Do you know what I mean? Even worse, he actually came from Jamaica, where he can hold his hands up and said he had nothing and came here and made something of his life. So I just hope that there's been some misaltercation or something went wrong along the lines, because you don't usually see a man who allegedly, I haven't seen the proof, that he's failed the A sample first, but has failed the A sample and then gone back and then the B sample's all right. The only person that I know who has done that by miraculous magic or something was Manuel Cha, right? Nobody else has done that. So I'm sitting down, I'm trying to think to myself, boy, I just hope and I pray that Dillian Whyte can be acquitted of this, because if it is true and he knowingly knew, he's hurting a lot of young people who look up to him as an aspiration.
Is it not concerning now that we've had two alleged fighters on the same night in the same ring have failed tests allegedly?
Of course, it's terrible, and I think that something should be done. Adam Booth contacted me yesterday. He said, like, something should be done when it comes to testing.
I mean, did you listen to him there? That was Spencer Fearon. Like, what has Dillian Whyte, coming from Jamaica, got to do with the fact that he failed for a bad substance? Like, did you just listen to what he said there? That is unbelievable. I will link the entire video in the description of the video of this podcast, of course, as always, guys. Yeah, but like, seriously, what has that got to do with anything? It's like, that's going to be like, oh, he came from Jamaica from the hard times. He come from the streets, and oh yeah, all right, for Spencer, we'll let him off. Because you know what? He's come from the gutter. He's come from the ghetto. We'll let him off the hook for that reason. Like, what has that got to do with anything? Like, seriously, what has that got to do with anything? Doesn't matter where he comes from. The fact is, he failed a drug test. And I'm pretty sure that Thomas Hauser, the journalist that broke this story, when his source, his trusted source that he deems as a trusted source, gave him this information, I'm pretty sure they would have told him as well that, oh, by the way, Oscar Rivas tested positive too. So Oscar Rivas, I don't know whether he tested positive in the run-up for the fight. If that's true, I don't even know if he has really tested positive, because the British Boxing Board of Control are keeping their mouth shut. They won't pipe up. They won't give us any information. They won't give us the truth. So again, at the moment, Spencer Fearon's allegation holds no water. And remember, Spencer Fearon is a very, very close friend of Dillian Whyte. So he's going to do whatever he can to protect his friend as well. So I'm not saying that Spencer's not telling the truth. Yeah, that he's been given this bit of information. But at the same time, I have to think that that is literally your best mate there that's tested positive for a drug. Yeah? And it sounds like you're panicking to try and find a way to vindicate him for this failed drug test. So, yeah. Not only that, if you watch the interview, like I said, I will link it in the description of this podcast. Okay? And he tries to discredit Thomas Hauser in his IFL interview, calling him a nut job. Yeah? When you're making comments like this, it's because you don't know what to say to defend against the allegations made. So he basically says that, he's a good journalist or something like that. He says he's a good journalist, a well-known journalist, but he's a bit of a nut job as well, Like, okay, so which is he? Is he a good journalist or is he a nut job? Which one? Because now you're contradicting yourself in the same interview, in the same statement. Like, this is why I don't know whether I could take Spencer Fearon's allegations seriously as of yet. Like I said, he may be right, he may be telling the truth, but right now, for me, it doesn't hold any water. And even if Oscar Rivas did test positive, it doesn't vindicate the fact that Dillian Whyte tested for a banned substance. Simple as that. Not only that, the way he was talking about the B sample test, he was concerned. He's like, there's only one fighter that I know has ever passed their B sample, and that's Manuel Charr. No other fighter has ever done that. So there's a concern there as well. You can see it. There's a worry. Like I said though, it wouldn't surprise me if that B sample does test negative. Just throwing that out there again. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Now let's talk some more about Eddie Hearn. Oh, my old friend Eddie. Alright, so Eddie Hearn, obviously, as you know, I talked about his interview with Barbershop Conversations, where he was put under relentless, immense pressure, and he crumbled in that interview, in my opinion. And a lot of people on social media who have seen clips of the interview on Twitter and etc. And if you go to the video itself and, you know, all that sort of stuff, a lot of people in there are saying like, Paul, this is, you know, they were shaking their head at it basically, at the way he responded, etc. and stuff like that. And like I said, like Spencer fair on, when you start attacking a reporter on a personal level, calling him a clown, that kind of just shows, you know, you're struggling to find a way to defend the whole situation, in my personal opinion. But let's move on to Eddie Hearn. So Eddie Hearn, after that, did another interview with IFL TV, no surprise there. And he basically turned around and said that he was asking Barbershop Conversations, why did they clear him to fight? Why did they clear him to fight? And he goes, why are you asking me why they cleared him to fight? You're the promoter, you should know. We get all our information as reporters secondhand from you guys, so you tell me. And it was just ridiculous. And then he said that some guy who was standing, I don't remember hearing this, but some guy was standing there, another reporter was standing there saying that, well, maybe because the panel, the British Boxing Board of Control, Whyte, when he appeared before them, he must have provided a suitable reason as to why he tested positive for that banned substance. Okay, and he then nodded his head like, yeah, that's why he was cleared to fight. So right there, you've already admitted now, indirectly you've admitted that Dillian Whyte tested positive for a banned substance. Just right there with that example. So they allowed him to fight because he could provide a suitable reason as to why he tested positive for a banned substance. So he did test positive for a banned substance, even though none of them, Eddie Hearn, Sky Sports, British Boxing Board of Control, White's team, none of them are coming out publicly and saying yes or no to whether he tested positive for a banned substance. There, though, in that example I just gave you, that is a way of saying, yes, my fighter tested positive for a banned substance. Yes, I do know what went on in that hearing. I can't say for legal reasons. 3, yes, Dillian provided a suitable reason as to why he tested positive for the banned substance and was subsequently cleared and allowed to fight. So here's my point regarding all of this, and it's the same point I make every time when a fighter fails for a PED. Whether your name's Canelo Alvarez and you took contaminated meat or not, whether you're Billy Joe Saunders and you know what, you had a cold and one of your mates gave you a nasal spray and you took the nasal spray and you didn't realize what was in it or not, okay, or whether you're Luis Ortiz and you're taking blood pressure pills, it don't matter who you are. I say this to everyone. As a fighter, as an athlete, you are responsible for what goes in your body. You shouldn't just know the benefits of a supplement. You should know the negatives too. And just shouldn't read the ingredients and say, that's okay, it's legal, I'll take it. You should find out from experts what it could possibly break down into, what it could possibly do to your body. Could this result in an adverse drug test, meaning a failed drug test for a banned substance? That's what VADA is there for. That is what UKAD is there for. You look at the supplement and you say, by the way, UKAD, can I take this supplement? It has this such a thing. And then UKAD come back to you and say, yeah, Dillian, that's fine, take that substance, you could take that supplement, it's fine, no problem. And Dillian Whyte starts taking a supplement. And let's say then UKAD say, oh, you failed a drug test. Then Dillian Whyte could turn around and say, well, hold on. You told me I could take this supplement. Get it? You are responsible for what goes in your body. Okay? You should be going to seeing experts. You know, what do all of these chemicals and all the whatever these ingredients, whatever you want to call them, in this do? Do they break down? You know, what happens in my body once it enters my body? You should do your complete research before you take anything like that. And if you didn't, and you didn't do your due diligence, that means you were negligent. Yeah? And far as I'm concerned, I still hold you accountable, and I still hold you responsible for a failed drug test. And you should serve a ban. Because how many times are we going to keep accepting these fighters saying, oh, it was in a supplement and I didn't realise it was in the supplement. Oh, it was contaminated meat. I can't avoid contaminated meat in my country. Yes, you can. Just don't eat meat. Go eat poultry. Yeah? You can still get protein and source protein other ways. Right? And maintain a healthy diet. And the same is this with these guys. Oh, it was in a supplement. So that's twice now. If this is the case that Dillian Whyte took a supplement and was tested positive for that reason, that's twice now. He took Jack 3D back in 2012, tested positive of it, got banned for 2 years, and now he's done it again. Potentially taken a supplement. We don't know the details, but I'm assuming it's a supplement he took. Okay? Because there were trace amounts found in his body. And that's twice now. How do we know that Dillian Whyte didn't know Dianabol was in there? And he thought, oh, I could take this, and if I test positive, I can get away with just saying, hey, I was taking this supplement. You know, I wasn't actually trying to take Dianabol. All these two byproducts that broke down into my body and came out of my body, and you tested it. These other two banned substances it turned into. How do we know that? That's why I say that when fighters give these reasons, you should still ban them for negligence. They should still be punished. Be taught a lesson to say, know what's going in your body. Do your research properly. And there's a flip side to that. For all we know, Dillian Whyte was trying to cheat. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? There should still be a punishment for it. We shouldn't allow these fighters to get away with saying, oh, but I didn't know. It was a mistake. Look, there was only trace elements. It was from this supplement. Look. No. That's twice now with Dillian Whyte. Twice. If that's the case. If that's the reason he tested positive, because he took it and he consumed it and it came through a supplement that he was taking, that's twice now he's given that reason and that excuse. How many times are you going to keep letting a fighter off with that excuse? When are you going to teach that fighter and say, hey, we gave you a 2-year ban last time round for this. We're going to ban you again for it, because you need to learn that you need to understand everything that's going into your body. It's your responsibility. And at Dillian Whyte's level, where he's made millions upon millions of pounds through Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing and the way they promoted him, all right, he's at the top of the tree. So he should be able to afford to pay someone to do this for him and help him understand it better. So far as I'm concerned, whether it was through a supplement and tracer elements were found, or whether he was definitely trying to cheat, he should still be punished. He should be punished. If he was trying to cheat, that's even worse, because he should be punished for that. We know that. He should serve a 2-year ban for that. Right? If it was through a supplement that he was taking, he should be banned. He should still be banned, because he has shown negligence. Because as a fighter, as an athlete, you should know what you're putting into your body before you take it. And you should do your research 100%. And you should be contacting UKAD, VADA, whoever, to get clearance as to whether you can use this product, this supplement. I'm sorry, I'm tired of all the excuses from these boxers and these fighters. You know, if I was a fighter, I would contact UKAD and I would say to him, hey, is it okay if I take this? Because I would email them so I've got written proof that they're saying it's okay. and say to him, can I take this? Send him a picture, an attachment of the product and obviously of the ingredient and what it says on the back, and say, can I take this? I need some information from you because I don't want to test positive. Actually, no, Dillian, this is what it does. It has dianabol in it, which is a banned substance, which then in your body breaks down into 2 different substances, which when it comes out and we test you, you'll fail the test for a PED, for 2 PEDs actually, that are byproducts of 1 PED that entered your body. Oh, okay, fine. I won't take that then. I'll look for something else. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? There's no excuse here. None whatsoever. All you fans out there, all you Matchroom fans out there, and you're on the internet, I've seen you on Twitter, social media, etc., all making excuses for this. There is no excuse. There's no excuse. No one, Eddie Hearn himself did not let Jermell off the hook. He didn't let Luis Ortiz off the hook. Do you know what I mean? And this is a guy who this is not the first time he's done this, right? Where he's not protected fighters who are fighting on his card when it comes to PEDs. Let me remind you, when Jermell tested positive in the run-up to his fight against Anthony Joshua, I played you an interview from Boxing Social audio clip of Dave Allen and what he said. Dave Allen had confirmed that UKAD had not tested him once in the run-up to this fight. He was giving his opinion on the whole Jermell thing, and he said everyone's on it. He goes, I'm probably the only clean fighter out here, in all honesty. One of the very few clean fighters out there. He said, I haven't been tested once in the run-up to my fight against Lucas Brown. And he said, from what I understand, Lucas Brown hasn't been tested in the run-up to this fight against me. That's what he said. Lucas Brown is a 2-time PED cheat. He's been caught twice cheating and served bans for those failed drug tests. The British Boxing Board of Control gave him a British boxing license so he could fight Dave Allen here in the UK. You didn't think it was important to test Lucas Brown before issuing him, and while he was in the UK, you didn't think it was important to test him. A known PED cheat who's failed PED tests in the past and been banned from him. You didn't think it was important to test him in the run-up to his fight against Dave Allen. And what makes it worse, Eddie Hearn didn't think it was important, clearly. Because where was he putting the pressure of saying, hey, UKAD, you better test this guy. He's tested positive twice before. You better run some tests on him. I don't want him going in there juiced against my fighter. While you're at it, just to be fair, test Dave Allen as well. No, he didn't do that. And Dave Allen revealed that story. He revealed that information. He and Lucas Brown were never tested. And it's worse because Lucas Brown is a known PED cheat. He's failed 2 tests. He's been banned twice. So this ain't the first time that Eddie Hearn's done this. But like I said, you are responsible for what goes in your body, guys. And you get no pass from me at all. I'm sick of this. Oh, I didn't know. You could have done plenty to avoid this, but you chose not to. Why? You have to ask the question, why? Why didn't you do more to protect yourself? Why? Is it because you were trying to cheat and you thought, hey, I can get away with this, and if I test positive, hey, I'll just say I took this supplement and it wasn't my fault and they'll let me off the hook? Which is kind of what's basically happened here with Dillian Whyte. I mean, think about it. All these fighters who do this and who get caught like this, I get the feeling that they know what they're doing. I get the feeling that they know what they're doing. That they know that, hey, if I take this supplement or if I take this PED, I could say, well, I'll take this PED. Yeah, so he might, for example, in this case, Dillian Whyte might say, all right, let's take this dianabol. But how do we cover this up? How do I give myself a good excuse if I test positive? Hey, look, mate, you can find it in this supplement as well. If they say anything, you just take that to the hearing with you. Oh, okay, cool. Seriously. And not only that, he also knows that UKAD and the British Boxing Board of Control like to keep everything confidential until they have a final decision, until a judgment is passed. Right? So I just feel like this is what fighters do. Canelo Alvarez, it was contaminated meat, even though there were serious amounts of high levels of clenbuterol found in his body. It wasn't just a trace element. Do you know what I mean? And look at Billy Joe Saunders. Oxylilofrene, yeah, but it was in this nasal spray. Okay, whatever. Sometimes, in my opinion, I don't trust these fighters. I believe they know what they're doing. These are just the excuses they try to use to get away with it. And it backfires. Big time. And you know what? It's the same case here. It's backfired. I'm not saying that Dillian Whyte will serve a ban. I got a funny feeling his B sample is going to come back negative. He's going to come back clear. Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. I got a funny feeling that might happen. I might be wrong, but I got a funny feeling that might happen. Okay, the point is I'm trying to make, like I said, you're responsible for what goes in your body. Yeah, if you failed the first test, as far as I'm concerned, you tried to take PEDs. Whether it was through negligence, ignorance, or whether you were genuinely trying to cheat. But most of the time, I honestly believe that these fighters know what they're doing. They're trying to find ways around it. And as boxing fans, if you're a real boxing fan who loves this sport, I'm not talking about fanboys, real boxing fans, you wouldn't accept this either. Because aren't you sick of it now? How many times do you have to keep going over this again and again and again? The other point I want to make is that Dillian Whyte never lets anyone off the hook when it comes to failed drug tests. Yeah, including, I might add, Lucas Browne. Remember when they were going to fight? Now, the first time Lucas Browne failed a drug test was when he fought Jagiev. And he won the regular WBA heavyweight title, right? The second time he tested positive, Lucas Browne, was for a over-the-counter supplement. And Dillian Whyte still didn't let him off the hook. Go and watch the gloves are off between the two of them. He said it was when Lucas Browne tried to defend himself, he said it was the same reason you tested positive, an over-counter supplement. No. Mine was different. You know, it wasn't on the banned substance list 1 week and then it was on the next week. But you tried to cheat. Yeah? That's what he said to Lucas Browne, basically. Right? So he doesn't let anyone off the hook. Right? So, I'm sorry, why should we let Dillian Whyte off the hook? Eddie Hearn went in. You heard the audio clip I played at the beginning in the intro of this podcast. He went in on Billy Joe Saunders. He went in on Canelo Alvarez. He went in on Luis Ortiz. He didn't let any of them off the hook. And you heard what he says there. You know what? We can't just ignore failed tests. Otherwise, we're making a mockery of the sport of boxing. Well, we can't ignore this test either. And something should be done about it, shouldn't it? According to Eddie Hearn. Regardless of whether it's his own fighter or not. Now, we keep hearing this news that Dillian Whyte is looking to take legal action. That's all we're hearing. He's got, due to legal reasons, we can't comment. Due to legal reasons, we can't comment. Due to legal reasons, I can't comment. We've heard a lot about this, yeah, in the last few days. Eddie Hearn let it slip in his last interview with IFL TV, where he mentioned the word defamation of character, or the phrase, or so I say, the term defamation of character, which quite clearly means that he's looking to go after the reporters who are reporting the news, right? Initially, I'm guessing that means he's going after Thomas Hauser. Now, could he win that case? I don't think so, because I think Dillian Whyte sees it as, I was cleared, so this shouldn't have been a problem, and you shouldn't have reported this. Right, yes, you may have been cleared to fight, but that's not what Thomas Hauser is. That's not the only thing he's reporting. What he's also reporting is that you initially failed a drug test, you had to have a hearing, and at that hearing you were cleared to fight. But you did fail for a PED. I don't think from a legal standpoint, he's got a case, personally, yeah? Alright, I don't know the law though, because I'm not a lawyer. But I don't think he really has a case. Common sense tells me he hasn't got any judge with common sense would turn around and say, well, hold on. Defamation of character means when you lied about someone. So that's like saying, Cypher, you're a drug dealer. You know what I mean? We know you're pushing drugs and you're selling them to the kids around the corner. Yeah? And then I'm saying, no, I don't. Yeah, you do. All right, screw you. Have you got any proof of that? No, I don't, but I know you're doing it. All right, cool. I'm taking you to court for defamation of character because that's what you're going around telling everyone about me. And there's no truth to it. There's no evidence to back it up. Same with Dillian Whyte in this situation, right? Dillian Whyte's trying to claim something similar to that. But the fact is, did he test positive for a PED or for 2 byproducts of a PED substance that he consumed, which came out, when he got tested, came out as 2 banned substances in his system? Yes, he did. Did he have a hearing before the fight? Yes, he did. Was he cleared at that hearing? Yes, he was. Yeah? Was he allowed to fight? Yes, he was. Did Oscar Rivas' team, were they aware of the situation? No, they weren't. Was the WBC aware of the situation? No, they weren't. Did the British Boxing Board of Control come out and make an announcement? No, they didn't. Was your promoter aware of the situation? Yes, he was. Do you see where I'm going with this? Was your team aware of the situation? Yes, they was. Was Sky Sports aware of this? Probably yes. So at what point did Thomas Howers lie about Dillian Whyte in this situation? And therefore it can't be classed as defamation of character, because what he stated and what he reported was the truth. And Eddie Hearn over the last few days, this is why they're asking Eddie Hearn to keep his mouth shut. Yeah, this is why they're telling him, Eddie, don't say nothing, don't answer no questions, don't give any information. And he has himself openly stated he's been told off by Whyte's lawyers or his team or Whyte himself, shut up, Eddie, don't say nothing. Because Eddie Hearn can't help himself. He's got a big mouth and an ego he needs to feed, and he can't help himself. And he's given out so much information already. Yes, Dillian Whyte tested positive for a failed drug test. Even though he's not said yes or no, he has said that, yeah, he had a hearing on the day of the fight in the morning or a few hours before the fight, whatever it was, to explain himself about what was in his body. Yes, they cleared him to fight. No, Oscar Rivas' team weren't aware. He's already giving all the information. He's leaking it out. And that puts Dillian Whyte in a real difficult situation legally if he's trying to take legal action. What he needs is Eddie Hearn, his promoter, to shut up. But Eddie being Eddie can't shut up. Yeah? And I think that's going to make it even more difficult because Eddie's revealing what they knew and what they didn't know as a team. And that will make it more difficult for Dillian Whyte to take legal action against Thomas Hauser. That's the way I see it. What makes me laugh about Eddie Hearn as well, he's criticising Deontay Wilder, Stephen Espinoza, because they're being very critical publicly about Dillian Whyte's failed drug test, right? He's like, oh, look at them, look at the way they're behaving and etc. and stuff like that. You know, there's no need for it and all that sort of stuff. But yet, this guy, this is what I want about Eddie Hearn, such a hypocrite. Because he does that himself. Did it to Jermell, did it to Billy Joe Saunders, did it to Canelo, did it to Luis Ortiz. He's done it to everyone. But when it's his fighter and then you know the other side, his rivals in the business start doing what he does in that same situation, you know, there's no need for that kind of behaviour. It's out of order. Shut up. Do you know what I mean? Eddie to me, like Eddie Hearn called what's his name? The guy from Barbershop Conversations a clown, right? That reporter. Yeah. Eddie Hearn's a clown to me. He's like a court jester. Yeah, the way he goes on. Like, he thinks he's really smart and intelligent. To me, he's not. He doesn't come off as a smart and intelligent person at all, in my opinion. I'm sorry to say he doesn't. Because if he was smart, he'd keep his mouth shut about this whole situation. Listen to Dillian Whyte and his team and say, shut up, Eddie. Don't say nothing. Look, that's why Dillian's not talking. Because he doesn't want all this information to come out. And it's coming out because Eddie Hearn can't keep his mouth shut. Last thing I kind of want to touch on a little bit, last few things, is that a lot of people, I've seen a lot of videos or where people have done videos like my own, kind of reviewing the situation. And a lot of people are saying that, even Thomas Hauser as well, if you go and watch his interview with, or listen to his interview with Boxing Social, shout out to him, and I will link it in the description of this podcast, of course, again, from Boxing Social. And it was a really good insight into what Thomas Hauser, where he got the information and stuff. But yeah, like I said, a lot of people are saying that I don't blame the fighter, I blame the system. Okay, here's my point. I'm going to try and keep this as short as I possibly can. This is the system of boxing, right? In that system, the sport of boxing, the system in that operates that sport, yeah? You have anti-doping agencies. You have boxing commissions, domestic and international, yeah? You have promoters, you have managers, okay? You have trainers, you have training teams, whatever you want to call them, camps, yeah? You have also got to consider, you have the broadcasters, yeah? And you have the fighters themselves, okay? So when you say it's the system, not the fighter, you are wrong. It is the fighter too, because the fighter is part of that system that operates boxing. Yeah? They are part of the system. It's not just the promoter's fault. It's not just the promoter's responsibility, the manager's responsibility, the domestic and international boxing commission's responsibility, the broadcaster's responsibility. It is also the fighter's responsibility and their trainer and their corner's responsibility to ensure we have a clean sport. Yeah? Stop trying to alleviate the fighters, saying that, well, they're giving the fighters the opportunity to cheat or try and cheat, so you can't blame the fighters. No, I can blame the fighters, because you should have a level of integrity about yourself. Yeah, you should have some pride about yourself that I did this clean, that it was all 100% me, not because I took something that helped me juice myself up and go in there and perform well. So the fighter is responsible too, as well as everyone else, for cheating and failed drug tests and PEDs in boxing. You are all responsible for it. And even as boxing fans, we are responsible, because there are boxing fans out there right now trying to defend this situation with Dillian Whyte. But it's not the first time. I've seen fans trying to defend Jermell, I've seen fans trying to defend Canelo, I've seen fans trying to defend Billy Joe Saunders, you know, in recent months, in the last year or so. This is nothing new. So as boxing fans, as a whole, we should be not accepting any of this nonsense. But unfortunately, we have fanboys out there, and those fanboys and those fangirls as well, let's not forget about them. They will protect their favourite fighter no matter what. They will criticise other fighters, but when it comes to their own favourite fighters, they will protect them. So we as boxing fans are also responsible too, because we are part of that system. So when you say it's the system's fault, not the fighter's fault, that's BS. Because the fighter is part of the system, and the system as a whole is broken, and until they fix that problem, yeah, we are always going to have these situations. But when these fighters do test positive for PEDs, you need to take action against them, because if you don't, it's just going to keep happening. You may not, I understand it costs a lot of money to run these drug tests and to chase these fighters all around the world. I understand that. Yeah, I totally understand that. Thomas Hauser revealed recently with Boxing Social, really good interview, shout out to them, go check it out, that I think Yarde get 10 grand a month from the WBC to perform these tests. That's not a lot of money guys. And considering there's all these fighters all over the world, how often and how frequently are they getting tested? And I'm talking about all year round testing. I'm not talking about the additional money they pay for fights. Yeah? So when you do catch someone, deal with it. Don't avoid it. Don't look for reasons to let them off the hook. And you need to put a policy in place that you are responsible for what goes in your body. I'm not going to go over it again. You already heard me say it. Basically, stop giving these fighters excuses. Yeah? So they don't get punished when they test positive. Simple as that. That's why I'm saying you should have a policy for you are responsible for what goes in your body. You understand? And a policy around negligence and ignorance and not doing enough to avoid a failed drug test. That's what I'm trying to say to you people out there. Now, on to the defence squad, yeah, for Dillian Whyte. Look at this, from Matthew Macklin. There was one tweet that I actually agreed that he put out I agreed with, but this I don't agree with. See what I mean? Look what it says. I don't know all the facts, but what I will say is, far as I know, it's Dillian Whyte who insists on and pays for out of his own purse for VADA testing to be carried out for all his fights. So with that in mind, I really don't think he's knowingly taking something he shouldn't have. Like I said, you are responsible for what you put in your body. Matthew, message to you. You are not helping the situation. You are not helping this bigger issue in the sport of boxing by making comments to protect your friend Dillian Whyte, who is also a Sky Sports fighter, and you're a Sky Sports pundit. You work for MTK Global, or he started it, or whatever it was. He was the founder of MTK Global, was he not? Yeah. And guess what? Spencer Fearon also is a representative of MTK Global. So yeah, I'm not going to take on your point. Yeah, because you've got bias there. You're trying to protect Dillian Whyte, and you're trying to help your mate Spencer Fearon at the same time. You are a pundit for Sky Sports, and Sky Sports have a deal, or should I say, Dillian Whyte is a Sky Sports fighter. So yeah, I'm not really going to take on board what you're trying to say there at all, because end of the day, like I said, you are responsible for what you put in your body. This guy replied to Matthew Macklin saying that Fury had VADA and UKAD when he fought Vladimir. Billy Joe Saunders was on VADA and UKAD. Miller was on VADA as well, knowing he would be tested. Here's my point, yeah? The reason these fighters employ VADA, okay, is because they want to make it seem that they are clean fighters. Okay? If they don't, look at Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. Originally, it came out that there was no VADA testing for that fight. What did everyone automatically do? They accused Manny Pacquiao that he was going to try and dope, because there's been speculation and assumptions made in the past about Manny Pacquiao. I'm not doing that, but I'm just saying that, right? Okay, that's what a lot of people out there think. Yeah, Paulie Malignaggi is probably one of the biggest ones, right? But at the same time, you have to kind of question Thurman. Why would he allow that to happen, right? But a lot of people accuse that, oh, we know what's going on here. Yeah, someone's going to try and cheat. Someone's going to try and take something they shouldn't. And then it was 4 weeks out from the fight, they decided to finally employ and introduce VADA testing, which, to be fair, wouldn't have helped the situation anyway. But why did they do that? Because they had to turn around and say, oh, no, we have got VADA testing. Look, guys, nothing dodgy is going on. Yeah, and a lot of these fighters do it for that reason. The reason they employ VADA is because they want to make it look like they're clean fighters. It's not very hard to understand, let's be honest. Yeah, yet they will still try and take something and think, oh shit, look, I need to take this. I'm sure we can work a way around getting around this. There are ways to get around taking PEDs, just sometimes they don't always work. So I agree with this person's tweet, totally. And Matthew Macklin, that's another message to you. Now, this is what I'm talking about. As boxing fans, we're responsible for not accepting these failed PED tests, yeah? But the fanboys and fangirls out there will always protect their favourite fighters. Look at this guy, yeah? This guy right here. Heyman bribes UKAD and the WBC to find a trace of some illegal drug, a trace. Anything is possible in boxing. Remember, the measures Heyman and Suleiman have gone to so far to block Whyte. Like, okay, so it's how Heyman's fault that trace elements were found in Dillian Whyte's system. So what did he do? He come around there, he sent a little ninja at night. He snuck into Dillian's room, and in his glass of water sprayed a little bit of a bad substance, and Dillian got up in the morning and started drinking in it. Yeah, is that what you're telling me? Then the little ninja followed him to the gym and started putting it in his protein shakes. Yeah, is that what you're telling me? And then, you know, when he went out to a restaurant to eat a steak, quickly injected something in the steak. Like, come on, like, really? Where do these people come from? Like, honestly, there's so many of these sort of people on the internet. It makes me laugh. I'm literally, when I read this, and I'm still bored, but I feel like doing it now. I feel like I'm gonna tears of laughter are about to come out of my eyes. I'm telling you, like, who are these people? Really? Are you serious? You know, like, don't make me laugh. Yeah, like, I'm surprised Tony Bellew, you know, where are these people? Where is Tony Bellew? Tony Bellew is usually the first person to come out and say, he's a drug cheat, ban him. He's not doing that with Dillian Whyte. I'm not seeing much from Dave Caldwell. He's another one, but he usually comes out and protects British fighters. You'll find that a lot of the British boxing fighters, the boxers, etc., they will defend British boxers. But when there's foreign boxers have tested positive, they're all over them, attacking them and demanding they be banned for life from boxing. But they won't do that when it's a British boxer. You know, Tony Bellew, he defended Billy Joe Saunders, Dillian Whyte, he's defended Dillian Whyte in the past. But he's defended Dillian Whyte in the past for the first time he tested positive for a banned substance in that Jack 3D incident. But then he goes after Lucas Brown for his second failed test, which was also for Lucas Brown, was an over-the-counter supplement he bought. Like, come on, really? Tony Bellew, man, like that's why I don't hold Tony Bellew in high regards at all. Yeah, but you got all these guys out there, all of them. Yeah, they all criticize foreign boxers when they test positive, but when it comes to their own homegrown, they'll defend them or they'll stay quiet, silent. You could hear a pin drop. Yeah, but it's only jokers like this that come out and make comments like they do. It makes me laugh. But yeah, I just quickly wanted to show you some of the stupidity and ignorance on the internet at the moment regarding this whole situation, right? Listen, my take is simple. I've made it quite clear. Yeah, there is no excuse for failing a drug test for bad substances, for performance enhancing drugs, PEDs. Simple as that. My stance on this has not changed one bit. Every single one of my videos, yeah, I have taken the same stance. Doesn't matter who it is. Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders, doesn't matter. Dillian Whyte, it doesn't matter. Luis Ortiz, it doesn't matter. I go after everyone when it comes to these things. And the simple fact is, you are responsible for what you put in your body. Yeah? Whether you were trying to cheat, or you showed ignorance, you showed negligence, and either way, you should serve a ban. And that's how we're going to stop this from happening. This is the first step. You got to stop allowing these fighters to get away with it. Simple as that, no matter what the reasons are. That's my take on it. Look, feel free to leave a comment as always. Yeah, in the comment section. Keep it clean though, please. And as always, like, share and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.
I was gonna rip his heart out, I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror, no, I'm Alexander, he's no Alexander. I'm the best ever, there's never been anybody ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw, there's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious, I want your heart, I wanna eat his children. Praise be to Allah.